Wow. And we're live. Here we are. There exists a limit to the force even the most powerful may apply without destroying themselves. Judging this limit is the true artistry of government. Misuse of this power is the fatal sin. The law cannot be a tool of vengeance, never a hostage, nor a fortification against the martyrs it has created. You cannot threaten any individual and escape the consequences. Muad'Dib on Law, from the Stilgar Commentary. Welcome to Reading Dune, a podcast where we read Dune by Frank Herbert and talk about it. Whether you're a Fremen or a first-time reader, this podcast is for you. My name is Caleb Pauls.
And I'm Evan Diaz.
And together, we're going to read some Dune.
Yeah, we are.
All right, so we're talking specifically about, this is chapter 22, not that there's chapter numbers in the book at all. But yeah, we're approaching the end.
Bum, bum, bum.
So yeah, things have instantly changed now in the story because Paul has moved the entire company to Sietch Tabr. So who does that include, Evan?
Wait. Paul has moved the entire company to Sietch Tabr. Is that what you just said?
Yeah,
And I wrote in my book, the gang's all here. Like it's literally everyone that's been in the book so far has just been transported to Sietch Tabr.
Are you ready for an epic showdown? Because literally everybody is here.
Yep. Here we are.
That's what everyone's.
You want me to list all the people? I mean,
I'm about to list them. It's Aaliyah,
Okay.
Hate, Edric, Scytale, Bjaz, Stilgar, Stilgar's wife, Hera, who was once Paul's wife.
Yeah.
Irulan is there. The Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mahayim is there. And Chani is there. And they're all in the place where Paul became Muad'Dib. Their home. So our scene... So the scene starts on an open desert. In the distance, we see the sun rising. We see the outline of rocks that is Sietch Tabr. And under a rock, in a cleft of a rock, we have Chani staring out at the morning desert. The desert. The desert. She felt that the desert had followed her wherever she had gone. Coming back to the desert was really a homecoming, but it was more like turning around to see what was always there.
Yeah.
Right then, she felt a painful constriction that surged through her abdomen. The time was near, but she fought through the pain because she wanted this moment with her desert. She looked out at the scene in front of her. Shadows off the dunes, off the shield wall, the bleak landscape stretching as far beneath a washed blue sky. In that moment, she thought to herself, why the hell are we here? This was not a Hajra. This was not a seeking or a journey. Paul sought nothing here, except maybe a place for her to give birth. She had questioned Paul about why they'd brought this strange group of people together. He said they were a quote-unquote company, a company of traveling companions. When she asked which value they had, Paul then went into some speech about what it means to have value in this universe. And ended saying that they were money rich yet life poor, and how he was evil and stupid. Chani, of course, rebuked him for this, saying that he was not stupid. Which he replied saying, this is true, but my hands are blue with time. I think I tried to invent life, not realizing it already be invented. She remembers that after he said that, he put his hand out and touched her abdomen. Now back in the desert, she smelled the evil odors washed up by the wind. Her old Fremen superstition gripped her, evil odors for evil times. She turned to face the wind, to see a worm rise up like a demon ship out of the dunes. It smelled the water, deadly to its kind, and burrowed back under the sand. So then Chani starts to think about water and how different everything is now in the last 12 years. Water had once been the spirit soul of Arrakis, and now it was a poison. Water now brought pestilence, and only the desert was clean. Below her, she saw a Fremen work group enter the Sietch, and they had muddy feet, which was just a crazy sight for her to see.
It's atrocious. Just like having read through everything, having been through everything we've been through, to even think about that, like Fremen with muddy feet, it's like absurd. It's disrespectful. Right? Am I crazy?
No.
Like I read that and I was like, are you kidding me? That's so messed up, you know?
Right. Like they used to kill people for water, and now it's just dirt on your feet.
Right.
No respect. What are we talking about?
No respect over here.
Above her, she heard children singing. The sound of her singing gave her a feeling as if her time was running out. It was fleeing from her. Like hawks before the wind when a storm comes. At that, she remembers what storms Paul could see with his eyeless visions. The sky was filled with wind-borne sand. A storm was coming. She could feel the slight sting of tiny crystals blowing against her cheeks. The incense of death came on the wind, the smell of water. Water was the reason Shai Halud sent his Coriolis winds. Then 2 hawks came into the cleft where she stood, seeking safety from the wind. The hawks were brown with red on their wings. She felt her spirit go out to them because at least they had a place to hide, and she did not. I thought it was interesting here Frank used hawks for this imagery because hawks are the symbol of what in Dune?
The Atreides house. Yeah.
And how many babies does she have in her that are future Atreides?
2.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just too obvious for me that I'm just like, duh.
I mean, I didn't even pick that up. I was just like, oh, cool. It felt like Tolkien talking about trees in Lord of the Rings. It's
right.
Just like
it's Frank talking about sand.
Yeah, Frank talking about desert stuff.
So yeah, in this moment, life comes up to her, and she's like, at least you have someplace to hide, because she does not. Her time is coming. It's about to end. Hate then comes up to Chani. My lady, the wind comes. Chani then turns to see the Gola. In that moment, classic Fremen fears gripped her. Clean death and the body's water claimed for the tribe, she understood this. But looking at a Gola, she couldn't help but think how foreign it was. Almost downright evil to be brought back from death.
Yeah.
There's something that's going to happen in the next chapter that makes me look at this sentence here and just thinks how foreign and evil it would be for her to be brought back as a Gola.
Right.
Like that's something she would not have wanted. It's just wrong.
Yeah. She would not be very happy about it.
Diana in YouTube says, foreshadowing.
Okay. Speaking of foreshadowing, I feel like I personally need to be honest to our listeners that are listening to this.
Go ahead.
Ahead today, this actual time today, we're doing 2 episodes, right? We're doing 2 episodes back to back. So I have read this chapter and the next chapter, so I know 2 chapters worth of stuff, which usually is not the case. Usually I barely know what's going on right now, right? So just wanted to let you guys know that's where we're at right now.
We'll try to keep it spoiler free as much as I can.
Okay, so we're keeping this this episode, spoiler free, for the next one.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's good to know.
if
I
you
never
are
have to deal with spoilers, so I'm not good at this.
I mean, if you're listening to this in the future sometime, and you're like, "Gosh, Caleb, don't spoil anything else," I'm gonna try my not to, and we're gonna get to it when we get to it. So we're gonna do our best. I had to point that little thing out. It's just like we need to know that about Chani and how she felt about Golas. It's weird.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah.
As she's like looking out in this majestic scene of the desert, and the storm is coming in, and she's just like with her desert, and up pops hate. So Chani's now cheeks are red as the wind and the sand have been whipped in her face. She glances back over at the desert to get one last glance. She was caught by a feeling of the desert's transience, right? Measured against eternity as the dune surf thundered against the cliffs. There's this analogy right there for like dune, like the sand working as water. And that's something I really enjoyed in the Dune Part 1, the movie. There is a scene where the worm goes down under again after Paul and Jessica are running, and it looks like the sand's making like water-like movements.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. So the storm out there had become a universal thing. All animals are hiding from it. Even the mighty sandworm thumped its way into the dry depths. It was her only moment's life measured time. In that moment, she felt this planet being swept away. Cosmic dust, part of other waves. So it's in this moment that she's getting a glimpse of what Paul sees all the time.
Yeah.
And of course, she's been around him enough to hear him talk like this, but now she's kind of seeing it as she feels her life ending. Her time is running out, so time is slowing down. "We must hurry," the Golab protested. Chani sensed fear in him, but more fear for her safety. Chani allowed the Gola to help her up the rock stairway into the Sietch. Attendants opened the moisture seals for Chani and Hate to pass through and closed them after they had passed. Immediately, Chani's nostrils were assaulted by the odors of the Sietch. The smell of flinty, burning machines at work. The smell of familiar foods and the rank smell of the reclamation stills. And the smell of human bodies being close together. It was the smell of home.
Oh.
I just wish we could have like smell-o-vision here in your podcast app. That just in this moment, just a whiff of just body odor just hits you hard.
Just a whiff of spicy armpit.
Spicy armpit and a little bit of dookie. But with like chili powder in it, so it's not as bad. The Gola released Chani from his grasp and stood aside. A patient figure. Almost as if he was turned off when not in use. He just watched. Chani hesitated to enter the chamber, puzzled by something she couldn't name. This was truly her home. She'd grown up here. She hunted scorpions as a child here. Yet something had changed. A rippling birth constriction seized her abdomen. She fought against revealing the pain, but it was not enough, because the Gola had noticed. "Milady?" Chani said aloud to the Gola, as she turns to him probably, "Why is Paul afraid for me to bear our children?" "It's a natural thing to fear for your safety," the Gola responded. Chani then took her hand and put it against her reddened cheek. "And he doesn't fear for the children?" "Milady, he cannot think of a child without remembering that your firstborn was slain by the Sardaukar." Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, little Leto. She then turned to study the Gola. His face was flat, unreadable, machine-like almost. Was this really Duncan, Idaho? The Gola continued. "You should be with the medics." Again, she heard fear for her safety in his voice. So, Evan, looking back on the last chapter, why is Hate scared in this moment?
because Beach Ass did the little what's it called? Distrance voodoo crap in his brain. Was trying to get him to like kill Paul when Paul says she's gone. Right?
Right.
And
And
so
Hate knows that something's gonna happen
yeah,
when an Atreides woman dies.
right. And so he knows something's happening inside his brain that he's unaware of, and that's freaking him out. And so like when any kind of hint of the trigger word or whatever, or like the trigger situation comes up, his brain starts freaking out. Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing? Okay, Anna Van Loon says on YouTube, medical fact here, the first and last sense we have is smell. So her smelling home at this point is also foreshadowing.
Oh.
Which is sad. This is sad. I hope everyone's got their kerchiefs ready to cry in. Evan's got his emotional support knitted worm that he's been holding.
Here she is. I just decided it's a she, apparently.
It's okay. It's all right. It's a great grandmother worm. Chani whispers, "Hey, I'm afraid. Where's my Usul?" "Affairs of state detain him," the Gola said. She nodded, thinking of how the government apparatus had accompanied them in the great flight of ornithopters. Abruptly, she understood what was different about the Sietch. The smells. The clerks and aides had brought their own perfumes into this environment. There was an undercurrent of different odors here. Chani shook herself, concealing the urge to laugh. Even smells change in Muad'Dib's presence. He brings water to Arrakis and makes the Sietch smell better. Hate, not knowing what was happening, just kept talking. "There are pressing matters which he could not defer." Chani nodded, saying, Yes, I understand.
All right, bud.
I came with them too. She was now thinking about their flight from Arrakeen to the Sietch, which she admitted to herself she did not expect to survive. Because Paul insisted about flying his own thopter, which is kind of scary because he can't see. He's blind, but the vision guided him perfectly. After that experience, she knew that nothing he could do would surprise her. Another contraction hits. The Gola sees her wince in pain. "Is it your time?" Chani says it is, and with that, Hate takes her arm again and rushes her down the hall. Chani senses deep, deep panic in him. But Hate just kept talking, probably because he's really nervous and doesn't know what to do.
This is like being awkward.
Yeah. He goes, "The Zensuni approach to birth is blah, 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 blah. It's not to compete with what is happening. To compete is to prepare for failure. Do not be trapped by the need to achieve anything. This way, you achieve everything."
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Hate. That's great.
Having contractions right now, bro, but thanks for the philosophy.
Also, like, she's a woman. So, and she knows that, like, there's not much you can do except just hold on for dear life as you go through this.
Right.
He's just mansplaining again. You don't need to do that to him.
He's Gola-splaining.
Gola-splaining. We had fish-splaining earlier in the book. Now we have Gola-splaining. He kept talking as they reached the entrance to the quarters, to which then he just cried out, Hera! It's Chani's time! Get the medics! Get the medics!" The whole host of people came running in. The next contraction hit. Now, like, I think it's here. The view changes. We were with Chani, now we're with Hate. As, like, the camera changes as she goes in, he, like, stays outside. He quickly dismisses himself from the now frenzied room and reflects back on what just happened. He was panicked. Why? The panic centered not on the fact that Chani may die, but that he would have to face Paul afterwards. And he was Paul was filled with grief for his beloved, who is now gone. Lagoa thought to himself, something cannot emerge from nothing. From what does this panic emerge? He felt his mentat abilities had been dulled. As he let a long breath out, he felt a psychic shadow pass over him. In this emotional darkness, he felt himself waiting for some absolute sound. What's the sound?
Do you mean like the
trigger
word?
The trigger word? I think that's what he's waiting
Yeah,
for.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was more poetic than that, but as soon as you said that, I was like, wait, are they talking about the trigger word? That's a good point.
A sigh shook him. Danger had passed without striking. Like, she didn't die. The word didn't happen. He's still cool, still in control.
Right.
So he then sank back into his mentat awareness. Right, his eyes probably rolled up into his head doing the little calculation thing. And then he starts sweating. Within his awareness, he found fuzzy edges of thought. Then he saw it. He saw B-Jazz, seated in his awareness like a blazing fire.
B-Jazz.
The dwarf had done something to him. I just imagine it's like he's like in there and there's just like this angelic thing, and in there there's just a little tiny dwarf just going just laughing at him.
Okay, also I just love picturing this like Duncan Idaho, hate Jason Momoa has Chani, right? He's like, so Zensuni talking about giving birth, and he like takes her to, and now she's on the bed, giving birth, doing all of that, and he's over here in the corner with a little handkerchief, like, oh geez. Just like that's what everyone else sees. It's just like this big ass Duncan Idaho with metal eyeballs, sweating, like, oh goodness. Oh, my stars.
As his eyes are rolled back into his head.
Yeah.
Like,
freaking out.
Like, bro, she's done this once before. Like, it's gonna be okay. But he's having this moment, this existential crisis, right? He wants to know about his identity and all this stuff, and now he found this compulsion been programmed into his brain, and he's teetering on like this deadly pit in his brain, and he finds it. A compulsion, he gasped. I've been rigged with a compulsion. At this moment, a courier comes by, like just passing in front of him to like go by his business. But he heard Hate say something, so the courier stopped, like backed up, like, did you say something, sir? The Goa'uld, not even looking at him, just says, I said everything.
Bum, bum, bum.
And that ends the chapter.
That's it.
That's it. That's why we're doing a double header. This one was so short. We got to jump into the next one because you're not going to just leave us on that cliffhanger right now.
Yeah.
Like, she's about to go give birth. Hate has found the compulsion inside him. Mm-hmm. The time is now. We're at the climax. So if you haven't already jumped to the next chapter, we're gonna go do that. But if you haven't also given us 5 stars on our podcast app, or subscribed or did WTD, then now's the time. Leave a review. Say how much you enjoy this and the community, and follow us on Twitter and get your mugs. I got my little Stay Spicy mug. You can go to readingdune.com. Yeah, that's it. Duh.
Yeah.
And to which, Evan, I have yours. I need to give it to you.
Yeah.
So you can drink your spice coffee in the spice mug.
Spice coffee in the spice mug. Put some spice milk in there.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right.
Get a pumpkin spice latte.
All right, we're going to take a quick reclamation break as I set things up, download this audio, and get the next one in there. So I'll be posting shortly where you can find the next one. If you're on YouTube, it'll be right there. Yeah. And we'll see you in a little bit. Stay spicy, my friends.
Peace.